Hey, best friends. Welcome to the Bestie Advice Podcast. Where we discuss all things relationships. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Bestie Advice with your hosts, Karan Hayes and Dr. Irene Abrams. Hey, bestie.
Hey, besties.
And we are excited for this week's episode. As you know, our podcast is about all things relationships, our friendships, our relationships with our husbands, relationships with our children, with our co-workers. There are various relationships that we have. But this particular week, we want to focus on relationships in church. Now, you all know, Irene and I, we are some church girls. Yes, we are.
We met in church.
Hello. Yes, we met in church as well. 20 plus years of friendship. And yes,
Yeah.
we did meet in church. But the relationship that we want to talk about today is, church relationships. We want to go just a step above that. We want to talk about as far as relationships with pastors' wives and women, men, those that are in the congregation. Now, society says, that's society, not us. Society says that, it's kind of difficult for pastors' wives to have friends, not just associates, not just, members, regular members of the church that you're saying hi and bye to. I'm talking about real relationships with the women at your church. Society says that, there's no such thing. It can't be done because of the position that the pastor's wife is in. However, y'all, this week right here, we know and we have friends that are close and dear to Irene and myself. Our first guest is Pastor Lisa Harris. Can you say hey to our besties?
Hi.
Elder Leatrice Winslow. That's my friend too, y'all. Hey, Leatrice.
Hey.
And Elder Consuelo Gaines. Hey, Elder Gaines. She's smart, y'all. She is for real. She's for real smart. Yes, she is.
Oh my God. I love her.
Yes.
Authoress, Elder
Yes.
Gaines.
So we want to just dive in to this conversation. But before we do that, we do want them to introduce themselves. Just let us know a little bit about yourself, what you do in the work field, what you may do as far as in ministry, and how long you all have known one another. We'll start with you, Pastor Lisa.
Hi, so yes, I'm Pastor Lisa. I'm not only co-pastor with my husband, Apostle Harris. I'm the First Lady. I'm a nurse. I'm a health coach.
Yes.
Wow. Ministries of music. I'm an author. I wrote my first book. So the ladies, Gaines and Leatrice, I have known them both over 10 years.
Wow.
Yes, 10 years. Yes. First, they were, I met them at our church where they were just members. Mm-hmm. And then from there grew into the various positions that they are in today.
Yes. All right. Elder Gaines?
Oh, yes. Oh, hi, everyone. Greetings. Love the Bestie Advice podcast. So if you haven't heard previous ones, make sure you go back and listen. They are a ball and a heap. But lots of great information, too. And so thank you all for that. Yes. And so, wow. First of all, I guess I'm a child of God. The child of my mama. So, a daughter, a sister. I have many siblings. I am the eldest, so I tend to be bossy because I am the boss. And so, that is a part of who I am. And then ministry. So I am a minister in faith ministry as a teacher, also a leader, also a mentor. And my passion is children's ministry. And so I do a lot with that as well, of late internationally. So that's been kind a step up too. I too am an author. Here's my book. You can buy it. Glory, but Affirm Greatness, Realize Destiny. Shameless plug.
Book.
Yes, it is. Okay. Shameless plug. And I'm working on book number 2. So you can find those on Amazon.
Yes.
I am a minister of movement as well in the ministry. And wherever God needs me is where I want to be. And so my answer is yes to whatever he asks me to do, tells me to do. And then in secular ministry, I also am an educator, also an administrator. And so have that sort of behind me as well. I also own a business. Thanks to Dr. Abrams, who is one of my teachers and one of my staunch supporters. And so just started a business in the last couple of years and am just affirmed and ready to do all the things that God has for me to do. So, yeah.
Awesome. Leatrice?
Hello, everyone. So my name is Leatrice Winslow. I'm a wife, a mother of 3, and grandmother of 1 so far. Let's see, what would I start with? As far as ministry, where I serve in ministry, I'm a bearer to Pastor Lisa. I serve in areas of teaching in our Bible Institute, also teaching on our Bible class, which is on Wednesday nights. And I also serve, I would just like to put everything under the umbrella of helps, because wherever assistance is needed, I just feel like, and I'm available, I'm just there. It's just in me, always been in me to be a helper. And then being the oldest of 2 siblings, I've always had like that, I don't know, that overbearing, like overprotective kind of like demeanor, you know.
I don't want to say bossy, y'all.
Yeah. It may come off as being bossy sometimes, but you know, yeah. So, and then as far as secular, I have served as a medical assistant for a lot of years. I just stopped counting. So it's been a lot of years. So it's been over 20 years that I served as a medical assistant. And currently, well, I've served as a clinical trainer, where I would train onboarding new medical assistants that were hired. And then I did that for about a couple years. And as of recently, it's been less than a year now, I've served in administration as management.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's about me.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you guys so much. Those are great introductions. As you can see, Bessie and Bias, these are some amazing women of God. They're both kings and priests, so that is good. Let me have a question. Pastor Lisa, are you the oldest or youngest or in the middle? Where are you at?
I'm actually the youngest, but everyone thinks I'm the oldest. Even my sister thinks I'm the oldest. I'm the youngest. So it's 2 of us that's living. So I'm the youngest. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, because I know Kiran is the oldest. I'm the oldest. Elder Gaines and Leatrice. So I was wondering.
Yeah.
We're very much alpha female. So yes, that bossiness shows up. So I do have a question, and anyone, could answer it. I kind of want to hear your opinion on this, Pastor Lisa, as a pastor and a first lady. Do you all think you can have genuine friendships in church? Do you think that you can really have a genuine friendship in church? And the position that you're not lay people, that I'm talking about when you are in church leadership at the level that all 3 of you are in church leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do believe that there's genuine friendship within the church and leadership. And I think what's based upon that is honor. As everyone
That's good.
are in their position and they display honor for each person, then you're able to have that friendship. You're able to have that camaraderie. You're able to have the ministry side where all of it can connect together. So as long as there's honor, because if we keep God as first and honor God, and then continue to honor each other for the position that they are in,
Mhm.
then I think everything just continues to flow as long as that honor is there.
Okay.
That's good. Elder Gaines or Elder Reachers, you guys wanna?
Yeah, I just agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Honor, and it just seems like, I don't know, it's just been made easy for me.
Yeah.
It's just been made easy. You know, never even a second thought or a second guess, and you know, honoring God first, and then everything, doing that as unto God, and then things just line up. I mean, He just divinely connects you.
Yeah.
And I truly believe, and I know that God has divinely connected us
That's good.
in our
That's
positions
good.
and as well as friendships.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Elder Gaines?
Yes, I too agree with both of those statements. And I think in companionship with honor and working conjointly with that, I think humility is also a really big piece of that.
Mhm.
Really being able to know your place comes, I think, from knowing who you are in
Mhm.
Christ. And so really just accepting that and receiving that, and not to say that in a haughty manner or anything like that, but to have a confidence to know that you are who you are in Him, and then
Mhm.
that He has created us to be relational, you know, that
Yeah.
He's created us to have relationships, and to really have a heart to discern what those relationships are, you know, to know sort of who to have in, who not to, who's there for what purposes. You know, Holy Spirit, he's wise, and He is in us. And so He will let you know, oftentimes, and many times you can go to Him, you know, especially if you find, you know, that you're lacking, you know, in some area. You know, I think it's really important for us to have people to be able to confide in, to go to
Yeah.
have as thought partners. You might hear the world say that.
Mhm.
God says in the Word that in a multitude of counselors, there's safety.
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to trust, you know, those people who God has given you to counsel you, to share counsel with, for you to counsel, et cetera. And so I think honor and humility really sort of pan out those divine connections and those relationships that He has for us.
Mhm.
And so once you are affirmed in who you are in Him, then you're able to tap into that, you know, and really just allow, you know, who He wants to come in, because He has that for our, you know, for our best, and for what is best for us, and for the greatest intent, for our greatest growth, all of those pieces. And so I think, yes, that those things coincide with one another, and it's really important to have that.
So let me ask you another question, as far as kind of centered around the same thing, but when it comes to relationships, yes, we do honor, you know, one another. I do honor Irene. I believe Irene, you know, I'm not going to even say I believe. Irene does honor me. But I know how, and I'm just going to speak for Irene and myself. I know how we can get down. When I say we can get down, we're just talking about conversations. Hello, besties. We're just talking about conversations. Like we can have like some real conversation where you're talking about taking off the hat, letting the braids down, taking off glasses, you know, whatever. We're having real conversation.
Yeah, real talk.
But I know that if I was friends with my first lady, with my spiritual mother, Lady Hudson, I would not have some of those conversations. I feel like I can't be as real because of the honor that I have for her. It's like, that's not a conversation for Lady Hudson. That's a conversation for Irene. So with you all, is that the same? Whereas, yes, you all are friends. Yes, you do honor Pastor Lisa. Pastor Lisa do honor you all. However, are there kind of like boundaries where it's like, okay, Pastor Lisa, she's my friend, but I'm going to Kiran about that, or I'm going to go to Elder Gaines about that particular conversation. And then even the same thing with you, Pastor Lisa, whereas, you know, conversations you may have with your girlfriend is that the same conversation that you can have with them as well.
That's a good question. I'm thinking. I don't think that I've ever had like a time where I've had to say that I can't have this conversation. I can't recall of a situation, because not only, that's when we're able to put on those different hats, I guess, in a sense, because, Elder Gaines as well as Pastor Lisa, they're, Gaines is also an elder, and what, things that that I may need guidance in, I can still go. I feel like I can go to either one. Yeah, I don't think I've had any area or any place where I would say that I've had to say put a boundary and say, well, I can't talk to Pastor Lisa, or I can't talk to Gaines about this. It's I don't know. I do feel vulnerable. Like I could be vulnerable with them, and I can just be me.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that that's the reason why I don't have that feeling to where I have to put like a boundary there. Of course, I would never say or do anything disrespectful.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just, I just feel like I'm vulnerable with them. I can just openly be me.
That's good.
I think to agree with that, definitely. I think that too, I think discernment is real, and that it plays the greatest role in all of the things that we need to do and say, especially as, ambassadors of Christ and his representatives and his daughters and sons, etc. And so yes, I could say anything to these two women, and actually probably everybody who's on here. I could be as real as I need to be, really, let the hair down, whatever, my great days, my not so great days, even when I'm going to affirm that every day is going to be a good day, my sisters know me and be, and know that there's something underlying and pray with me and, those kinds of things. Although, let me say this, we all have, our exchange that we do with Jesus, right? For his burden and his yoke, right? That's easy and that's light. But we have one, right? And so it's always at the forefront of my, thought processes, not to overload or to overburden, my friends, my sisters, my family. If there's something I can finagle myself, God, should I not, and then getting counsel when I need to, and sharing when I need to, or holding back from, kind of dumping on anybody, when they may be going through some things themselves. And so I think it's important to also, really just discern that, to have that balance, to be able to do it. Yes, I feel I'm fully able to, share anything at any time, and without judgment, without, that will listen, hear, pray, feel me, all of that, and vice versa. But I do too, sometimes, I'll see that there are, extras going on in the lives of my, my close-knit friends and family. And I'm like, okay, this is probably not the time. We could talk about it later, I can share it later. But right now, they're dealing with this. I'm going to keep them up in prayer. And if they need me, I'm going to be there for them, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that's a part of it as well.
Yeah. And I just want to piggyback after that. I believe also with the closeness that Elder Leatrice and Gaines and I have, at times when Gaines says she doesn't want to share what's wrong with her, I'm like, okay, Gaines, I know something's wrong. Just let it out. What is it? And then I'll just like keep nudging her until she actually is like, okay. So with that spirit of discernment kicks in, and we just like, okay, have to let in. Now, my spiritual mom is First Lady Gloria Alford of Progressive in Hillside. So that's my spiritual mom. And I believe we have and actually she's been my spiritual mom. Let's see, Manuel was 25. So about 23 years. So 23 years. So I think there's a closeness there. It hasn't been a time where I have not felt that I could not go to her. There have been times when I've gone to her where I haven't shared with anyone else. So her and I have that connection where I can share with her my most vulnerable thoughts and feelings. However, I think I'm kind of in a sense with Lady Hayes is that certain things I just don't bother her with. I was like, what? And I think the reason why is not that I can't go to her. I think at times that I do not go to her at certain times is, for one, just another level of reverence that I have her, like, oh, she has a lot to do with,
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
this mega church and everything else going
Right.
on. But I really believe it's because God has brought me so close together with the my inner circle that's within my local church,
Yeah.
that I can go to them, so there isn't a reason why I can't go to my spiritual mom, which I do. But then there's time I just feel that there's such a closeness that I can go to either Elder Gaines, Elder Leachers, or Dr. Betty in our church, where I can just go to them and just let it out. There have been times, like I remember years ago when Apostle was going through maybe his second sickness, and I called them to the church. And if you read my book, it's in there. I called them to the church, and I just sit here. And they just sat there, and I just poured out. So I felt that I had that security. I felt that there was peace, and I found safety.
Yeah.
I found safety in them.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good. Wow, Pastor Lisa, I think you're probably the first lady that I've ever known that really, be open like that with your, if they hadn't really shared it with me. And I don't have a lot of experience in churches. I literally went from my grandfather's church to Bishop Brackett's church. So I don't have a lot of experience in the church, but I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of people in church. And I said before we got on, it's just an admiration that I have for you and Elder Gaines and Elder Leachers, because I see a genuine friendship there. And you brought up some things that I want to kind of piggyback on, the fact that they were your inner circle, your net of safety, where you could say, come and sit, and you are able to express your heart. I can't think of a lot of people that would be comfortable doing that. And so, it just really leads me to ask, how did you all develop this friendship?
Yes.
If you can kind of walk us through that journey with each lady, what drew you all together?
Yes. Because you all have a lot of women, and you have a lot of women at your church, as far as Pastor Lisa. So it's like, what drew you to these two women, and vice versa?
And vice versa, yeah.
Wow. What I want to say, even to the foundation to that, when I first became a first lady, I will honestly say, and I want to say, I don't think I want to be a first lady, because I would see first ladies of all the things that they would go through and what they would hear, and I would be like, I don't want to be a first lady. The apostle would be like, you don't want to be a first lady? I'm like, no, I don't want to be a first lady.
I hear you.
Even just going through that, and then even before I even came a first lady, I would hear people around me say, you have to wear the big hat. You have to wear this. So everything they kept telling me I had to do as a first lady, and I kept saying, I don't like big hats. I don't like this. The things that they were saying, I was like, well, I don't think I can be a first lady. And then they said, and you have to sit here on the first row and do nothing but smile. I was like, that's not me, because I would sit there and I'm like, I see things that need to be done when I know God is telling me to do it. But then yet you have the older or elder people in the church saying that you're first lady, you're just sit here, you're just smiling. I'm like, but that's not what God is telling me.
Exactly.
So that transition for me was kind of interesting. And then when people would find out that I was a first lady, go, you a first lady and you do this? Pastor let you do that? I'm like, yeah, am I not supposed to do it? I'm like, am I not a child of God? Is this what God not called me to do? So in that, I think that kind of laid the foundation to say, well, I have to be who God has called me to be.
Yes.
In spite of what the label has said, a first lady, if you came under the Kojic or whatever, you had the large hats, just certain standards that you were used to. And I just didn't fall in there. And so I kind of felt like, am I a misfit? Because, am I a misfit? Because when I did Ministry of Movement and some first ladies saw me, they was like, oh my gosh, we saw you doing Ministry of Movement. And I said, oh my gosh, there's a lot of first ladies who direct the choir. What's the difference? You're doing work for the ministry of God. And so, they had a hunger to direct the choir and sing. And I did do that initially, but my hunger and drive was to the prophetic and the Ministry of Movement. And that's where God has steered me to. And coming to get to know Gaines and Leachers, I think we just started off as they were just members. And then I believe Gaines was a Sunday school teacher. And she saw interest in the liturgical dance, is what we called it then. And I would say this, and she's probably going to get me for saying it. She would say later on, she goes, you know, you guys didn't want me to be part of the dance team. I said, why would
They
you say
didn't.
that?
Yeah, they didn't.
And I think
For
it
younger
was some of
people,
the
yeah, they
younger,
didn't.
it was some of the,
And she
the young
agreed
ones in
with
there.
them. She agreed with them.
And the thing was, I
Was like,
in
what?
the beginning, I just didn't I didn't think that Gaines actually took it serious as a minister of movement, because she was the one who I always saw with the children, and with the children church and with the teaching. So for her to be part of the ministry of movement, that was just like, oh, really? You know, it was just, I just didn't expect her to be that. But then once she did, and I was like, Holy Spirit said, take her with you. And I was like, Gaines, I got to go to this event. You want to go? She's like, yeah. And then I said, Gaines, I signed us up for this. She's like, what? I said, I signed us up for this. So I just literally pulled her into everything of the ministry of movement that God shared with me. I pulled her in. So I think that's how another level of closeness Gaines and I had bonded in, was in that area. And then with Elder Leatrice, we bonded more so in as being an armor bearer. Now, prior to her, I had several armor bearers, and we were at another location. One lady wanted to be my armor bearer, and I think she put herself in that position, and she was asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of things that I was like, hey, you know, that put me back off guard. It's like, you want to get too personal with me, and I don't even know you like that.
Right.
So at that point, I kind of like, you know, kind of was off guard with it. But I think with Elder Leatrice, just as far as her being a Sunday school teacher, and then she started teaching with the youth, the loving kindness, it just all kind of grew in there. You know, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to pick Elder Leatrice to be my armor bearer. It was just something that where love, that we just knitted together. And that's how God just brought us all together. And now Elder Leatrice and I share a granddaughter together. So that's another level.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look, now it's family.
Right. Now it's family. Now it's
family.
family. Now it's family.
Yes,
So now our thing is, now I guess when the grandbaby comes to church, who's going to get her first?
Yes.
But I love that
We
it's
share.
so organic. I think, you know, Kirana, I talk about it all the time. You know, friendships and relationships have to be so organic. And Pastor Lisa, listening to you talk about, you know, how you and Elder Gaines met, and you and Elder Leatrice, and, you know, how, you know, levels to your relationship, you know, and I think for people out there listening, you know, we say this all the time, it has to be an organic, divine, perfect fit. And I think that, you know, just listening to your story, I can see see the genuine love and respect and honor that you all have for each other. So Elder Gaines or Elder Leatrice, do any of you want to talk about how you feel about your relationship with Pastor Lisa?
Yeah, you know, you want to go first, Lee?
I wanted to mention, I don't think I got a chance to talk about this part about like our experience of meeting. Was that what we just talked about? I didn't.
No, please share, please.
We share. So I don't know, and I'm sure that you know, Pastor mentioned that she's a health coach. So I think that everything began to develop for me when we used to go out walking to the park. You remember that? We went out every day. We would walk from my house and we would go to the park. And it started off with just walking. And then all of a sudden, other things started happening, like little index cards came out with, you know, different movements that came with the walking.
The anointing. Watch out for it, y'all. Watch out.
And then, you know, and then there were like these diet sheets that started coming. Like,
They were food plans.
you know.
We don't call them that. They're food plans.
Yeah, I love it. I loved it. And I was like, oh, wow. But I was just so amazed because I was like, that was different for me to see for a first lady. And, you know, a lot of times when it comes to the first lady, people say, no, you can't approach them. You can't talk to them like that. You know, you can't, well, when I say like that, like you can't be personable with them, you know. So that just helped me to get to know that this is a passion for her. She loves people. She loves to be able to to empower them, like that, as far as like health and different things like that. And so, from there is where I think it really like, it's just like started growing for me. And then, of course, began to ask questions and, and it just, I don't know, it just went on from there. I can't even tell you like the different steps from there. That's just the starting point for me. And I remember it from there.
That's good.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I agree with that totally. And I really believe, just like you were saying, Dr. Irene, that, relationships that are going to be lasting relationships do really need to be organic. They really do. And God makes them that way on purpose. Because, when we think of organic things, we think of life, right? Things that are alive, things that are living. And so, that's sort of what happens, and I have found, I don't know about everyone else here, but I have found that so many times, whenever I am in a place where God's building those organic relationships, it's usually with kindred spirits, those who are of like mind, those who are receptive. No, we're not carbon copies of each other or anything like that, but we really kind of get it, and I don't know about you all, but in my lifetime, and I heard pastors say misfits, because that's kind of what I've been, my whole life in terms of fitting into the world, in terms of fitting into the way that, they think and live and do things and all of that. I grew up in many different churches, many different cultures. And so I never had the, I don't know, the whatever it is that we have in our culture as church, whether it's Kojic or Baptist, whatever it is. I never had that. I never had the stigma of it. And I never had this sort of traditional understanding, religious kind of mindset, any of that. And so being able to come and to quote unquote fit into a place, and to know that, man, if I fit here and if people like get me, because most of my life people didn't get me. And so I'm like, oh, wait, this might be worth staying here, And like Pastor was saying, they still have to, goad me at times, but that's what is needed. God places you together with those people that have things that will complement and that will balance and that will supplement. And so, those were the kinds of things that we found in each other, because we actually came together around the same time. I did know Pastor Lisa and her husband prior, but not in terms of a church relationship. We had her and her husband and I had worked together, and they were using the building that we worked in. And so I had an occasion to like encounter her and encounter them and those kinds of things, but we weren't like close or anything like that. And I wasn't yet a member of their church or anything. And so, so having come to that place and finding the things that complement, the things that supplement, the things that help people to get you, that you're kindred spirits and that there's this divine connection that you see and God grows it, and it becomes alive and living. And so, that has played a great part in just being able to be vulnerable, knowing that, oh, wow, this is somebody that gets me. They're not going to necessarily judge me, but they're going to help me. They're going to tell me what's right. Even if I don't want to hear it, they're gonna draw it out of me, even if I don't want to give it. They're going to gold and prod, and they're gonna pray, and they're gonna be on my side and in my corner, and I'm going to do the same thing for them, because there develops then also a loyalty, to one another, a camaraderie of heart and spirit, so that you are like family. And so, well, they are now family, but
Right. So let me ask y'all another question. So when it comes to relationships, we have to make sure that we stay connected. So, you all's relationship was actually based or started at church. Irene and my relationship started at church. But we have to do things to make sure that we cultivate the relationship, that we keep it going. So outside of church, because hopefully we're doing something outside of church. So church won't be the end all be all. What do you all do to cultivate and develop your relationship?
Spa getaways.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Vacations.
What did you say on the games?
Vacations.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
so that's
Also,
what you all do
you're
together?
really good at communicating And
Okay,
so,
good.
we'll send little texts to one another. We'll send little, little praise reports to one another. We'll send like, I'm having a bad day. Somebody pray for me, that kind of thing.
Yes.
In a group chat, or everybody's like, okay, we got you.
Yeah.
Somebody sends a scripture, or somebody, or calls and like, you okay? What do you need? Everything's okay.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, and we do it, pretty often, at least once a week, if not more than that.
Yeah.
From one of the group, we'll check in to everyone, and if anybody is missing or is absent for a little bit, we're like, hey, you heard from so and so, or
Right.
somebody call him, you talk to them, you talk to him. And so, just I think communication is a big piece
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
spirit realm as well as in the natural, just to kind of reach out and let them know, hey, just saying, hey, just thinking of you, that kind of thing. And then also, if God puts it, in your spirit or in your heart, so-and-so needs prayer right now, you do it and you do it how he says it. So those kinds of things. So I think that's a piece of it as well.
That's good. And you said you all do spa days, and what did you say, Leatrice?
I was like, yes, for spa
Oh.
days. We often
Spa day.
we often, make some time to be like, hey, let's go to this place or try this place.
Yeah.
Just to hang out sometimes, to conversate, just to be able to go and just, I don't know, just relax. Because
Yes.
sometimes we need to be able to pull ourselves away from everything else, and then we come together and have those times where we would, and come to think, but we haven't done that in a while, ladies, but where we would come together
Pandemic, right?
and
been
we
the
would just
pandemic,
go
yeah.
and just go
Yeah.
for a weekend, go for a couple days,
So
and
we
just
still find a little time. Sometimes we don't everybody isn't together at once, but we try to hit it here and there as we can.
Yeah.
Actually,
Mhm.
Leatrice, you and I just went out in
Yeah, me and-
December.
December,
Leatrice
yes.
and I went out December a couple of days. We went away at the hotel, and we actually got to do a painting that we had not did for
It's
2
been-
years from when our women's ministry did a painting. Her and I were so busy directing the night of the event that we didn't get to do our painting. So 2 years later, we finally painted our picture
Wow.
this past December.
Yes.
Because
That
we
was
vowed
good.
not to, for neither one of us to paint the picture until we was together. So it had been 2
Yeah.
years before we came together. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna get away for the weekend, and we
Yeah.
just relaxed, and we actually got our picture painted.
That's good.
I mean,
But
just
I-
anything. It could be just,
Yeah.
in a movie.
Just
It
out
could be
to dinner.
going out to eat.
Yeah.
Accident, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we just actually did that. Pastor Lisa and Elder Gaines and I, we danced
Yeah.
together, and so we experienced a traumatic experience, and I just needed to pull on
Mhm.
their love and their support, and they needed to pull on mine. So I agree, just those little moments you can steal away.
Thank you for watching part 1 of Church Leadership and Friendships. Make sure you come back and tune in for part 2. Thanks for joining us today. See you next time.